The first time I realized my sister was becoming me was when she wore my perfume to my engagement party. Not a similar scent. Not one we both liked. My scent. My signature. The one Daniel always said reminded him of the day we met. She hugged him longer than she hugged me that night. Laughed at jokes he hadn't told. Touched his arm just a little too casually. But I brushed it off. Because who would believe me if I said my own sister was trying to steal my life? Before I begin, if you're new here, subscribe and hit that like button. We tell the stories families hope you'll never hear. My name is Emma, and this is the story of how my sister turned into my shadow and tried to erase me. It started slow, quiet, harmless even. Laura had always been the more chaotic one. Artsy, emotional, intense. I was the calm one, the grounded one. The one our mom leaned on when bills were due or things fell apart. The one who always cleaned up after Lara's mistakes. So when she crashed on my couch, just for a few weeks after her latest breakup, I said yes.
Of course I did.
She was my sister. She needed help. That's what family's for, right? The first weird thing happened on a Thursday. I came home from work and found her on a Zoom call, with my throw blanket over her shoulders, sipping tea from my Drive-E mug, smiling that same tight-lipped way I do when I'm pretending not to be tired. The screen reflected her voice. Therapy is a space for honesty. Let's start there. I froze. She was pretending to be me. I laughed it off at first. She said it was just a joke, that she'd been pretending to be Dr. Emma for her TikTok. She showed me a video, all staged and harmless.
Right?
Come on, she said. You're so composed all the time. It's hilarious. But I didn't laugh. Because when I opened my work laptop that night, I noticed an outgoing email I hadn't sent. A draft I hadn't written. And when I checked my drawer the next morning, my spare clinic badge was gone. I told Daniel. He said I was reading into things. That Laura was going through a hard time, and I needed to show some compassion. I didn't argue. Because maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I was being the paranoid younger sibling again. But that night, as I brushed my teeth, I saw it. Her toothbrush. The same shade as mine. Same brand. Same model. Side by side. Like we were twins. But we weren't. And something deep in my chest told me. This wasn't admiration. It was preparation. At first, I didn't notice it. The change was subtle, like humidity before a storm. The group text got quieter. The replies shorter. Plans that once included me suddenly forgot to. Then came the birthday dinner. Or rather, the one I wasn't invited to. I saw it on Mia's Instagram story. My 3 closest friends from grad school, laughing around a table lit with candles and wine glasses, Laura wedged between them like she'd always been there. Wearing my old green scarf. Telling stories I could almost lip read because they were mine. I blinked. Surely I'd just missed the invite, right?
E messaged Mia.
Hey,
Didn't know y'all were doing something last night.
hope it was fun, red heart. 3 dots. Then nothing. Hours passed. Then the reply came. Thought you weren't speaking to Laura anymore. She said things got complicated. Hope you're okay. I stared at the screen. What was she telling them? I checked my other messages. Rachel, who used to call me weekly, hadn't texted in over a month. Aaron, who I'd once helped move in the pouring rain, had unfollowed me on Instagram. And then I saw it. Laura had tagged them in selfies. Had captioned them with things like real one's yellow heart and true family isn't always blood. She was curating a version of my life. One where I was the unstable sister, and she was the misunderstood one trying to pick up the pieces I left behind. The worst part?
She was good at it.
Laura had always been magnetic when she needed to be. She knew how to cry just hard enough to seem fragile, but never unhinged. The first time Daniel suggested I talk to someone, I thought he meant about us. The second time, he handed me a list of therapists. You've just seemed overwhelmed lately, he said softly, not meeting my eyes. And I think talking to a professional could help. The word professional hit me like a slap. I was a licensed psychologist. I was the professional. I laughed. Not out of humor, out of disbelief. Is this about the recording? I asked. Daniel hesitated. That hesitation told me everything. She told you, didn't she? I said. She played you that little clip. And you believed it.
She didn't have to, he said.
Emma, I've been watching you fall apart for weeks. The late nights, the mood swings, the paranoia. You think your sister is trying to be you. She is. Silence. I looked at him and realized something terrifying. He didn't see me as his partner anymore. He saw me as his case. I'm not crazy, I whispered. I didn't say you were. But he didn't have to. That night, I lay in bed next to the man I was supposed to marry, and I knew I was sleeping beside a stranger. One Laura had carefully groomed into doubting me. He didn't hate me.
He pitied me.
And in some ways, that was worse. The next day, Laura made breakfast. Pancakes. The way I make them. With cinnamon and just a pinch of nutmeg. She plated them, smiling like the picture-perfect sister. You've seemed tense lately, she said. Want to talk?
Här.
Where were you last night? I asked. Here, she replied easily. Watched Netflix. Had wine. With who? She tilted her head. Why would you ask that? Because I'd found a second wine glass on the counter this morning. Lipstick smudged. Her shade. But she always drank alone, didn't she? Unless Daniel had joined her.
No.
No, he wouldn't do that. Would he? I didn't ask. I couldn't bear the answer. Instead, I went to my clinic early and pulled my keycard logs. Sure enough, someone had accessed my office over the weekend, twice. Both times during hours I wasn't there. And my badge hadn't left the apartment. Laura had a copy. Or a duplicate. Or maybe she'd talked her way past the desk.
She was good at that.
I filed a formal access alert. Quietly.
Carefully.
I didn't want to seem unstable. But then, when I returned home that evening, Daniel met me at the door. His face was grave. Emma, he said, we need to talk. Not again, I thought. She came to me today, he said. She said she's scared of you. I blinked. Scared? He nodded. She showed me a bruise on her arm. My mouth went dry. She said you pushed her during an argument. I didn't. I said instantly. That never happened. But even as I said it, I knew it didn't matter. Because Laura had planted the seed. And in Daniel's eyes, doubt had taken root. Laura didn't need to scream. She didn't need to cry. She didn't even need to lie outright. She just needed to look frightened and let everyone else imagine the rest. By the end of the week, Daniel had suggested we take some space. I think it's just a lot right now, he said gently. For both of us. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I just nodded. Because the woman I loved, the life I loved, was already slipping through my fingers. And I was too busy trying to stay sane to hold on tighter. He left that Friday. Laura didn't. She stayed. Moved into the guest room officially. Started labeling things in the fridge. Made coffee before I woke up, so it was ready for you, sis. Every smile was a knife with sugar on top. I kept my head down at work. Stayed late. Avoided eye contact. My patients trusted me, but the staff? I wasn't so sure anymore. And then it happened. Monday morning, 9:17 a.m. My supervisor, Dr. Mills, knocked gently on my office door. Emma, she said, can we speak privately? My stomach turned cold. She laid a printed email on my desk. It was from a concerned client. It claimed I'd breached confidentiality. That I'd spoken about a patient's trauma over lunch at a cafe. That I was distracted, dismissive, and emotionally volatile. It wasn't true, but it didn't matter. Dr. Mills gave me administrative leave. Just a few weeks. Until we sort this out. My license wasn't suspended, but my dignity was. I left the clinic through the back exit, like a criminal. Called Daniel. No answer. I got home, shaking, only to find Laura in my robe. Eating my leftover Thai food. Watching a documentary about imposter syndrome. I thought you'd be gone longer, she said casually.
Här.
I know you wrote that email. She smiled. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Her voice was calm. Her eyes steady.
But that smile, was the most terrifying thing I'd ever seen. Because it wasn't rage. or guilt, or even pleasure. It was satisfaction. She wasn't stealing my life on impulse anymore. She was engineering it, and I had no proof.
No witness.
No voice. I went upstairs, shut the door, pressed my back against it like I was trying to hold myself together with wood. My hands shook as I opened my laptop. She wanted to erase me.
Fine.
But she forgot something important. I'm not a victim. I'm a trained psychologist. And I know how to diagnose pathology when I see it. She wasn't just jealous. She was dangerous. And I was done playing defense. It started with a LinkedIn alert. A friend had endorsed me for trauma therapy. Odd, since I hadn't logged into the platform in weeks. When I checked my profile, everything looked normal until I scrolled down and saw a second listing. Emma Carlisle, MA, clinical therapist, private practice. Same name, same headshot, but a different email.
A different website.
The bio was nearly identical to mine, down to the wording. Only one thing was changed, the contact number, which I didn't recognize. I clicked it. The fake site redirected to a new booking platform and a dozen glowing reviews, all posted within the last 3 weeks. My stomach clenched. I called the number. It rang twice. Then a soft, professional voice answered. Hello, Dr. Carlisle's office. It was Laura. She didn't say her name.
She didn't need to.
She'd become me. I hung up. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely unlock my phone. I called my old professor, Dr. Marin, someone I hadn't spoken to in years, but who always believed in me. When she picked up, her voice was warm but concerned.
Emma, I was just thinking about you.
Everything okay? I told her everything, from the perfume to the fake website to the job suspension. By the end, she was quiet. Then, this is identity theft, she said flatly, and psychological warfare. I finally let the tears fall, because hearing it out loud from someone with credentials made it real. You can't go to war if you're the only one playing by the rules, she added. Start documenting everything. Every date. Every conversation. Every post. And Emma, don't confront her yet. You're not ready. She was right. Laura was winning because I was reacting. She was writing the script, and I was just trying to stay on the page. That night, I began my own quiet investigation. I checked my laptop's browsing history. She'd been logging in under my user account, accessing my case studies, my saved templates, even my drafts. I went through her room while she was out. Inside her closet, tucked behind a row of vintage jackets, was a locked file box. I picked it open with a bobby pin. Inside were printouts, emails, patient records, even drafts of my therapy notes. All with my name. All stolen. And beneath them a photo. Me and Daniel from our trip to Florence. Only, she'd scribbled out my face. That's when the shift happened. For weeks I'd been afraid.
Confused.
Isolated.
But now?
Now I was angry. And anger has a way of sharpening things. I didn't care if people thought I was paranoid anymore. Because I wasn't paranoid. I was right. And Laura was going to pay. By the next morning, I had a plan and a burner phone. I knew Laura was monitoring everything. Texts, emails, maybe even my calendar. I couldn't risk tipping her off. So I started leaving my real phone behind when I left the house, carrying only the burner with a few trusted contacts saved. I wasn't paranoid anymore. I was hunted. At night, I took notes by hand and photographed them. I printed out screenshots and stored them in a folder labeled grocery receipts. I placed a mini voice recorder under my dresser and set up a nanny cam inside a hollowed-out book on the shelf. I was no longer in therapy mode. I was in capture mode. And then she escalated. I came home from a quick errand to find the apartment spotless. Every room, every drawer, every shelf. My things had been rearranged, just slightly. Enough to disorient me. My journal, the one I hid under my mattress, was open on my desk. So was my laptop still logged in. A new tab open, searching, signs of a narcissistic breakdown.
She wanted me to see it.
She wanted me to unravel. The next day, I walked into my bedroom and froze. She was sitting on my bed, wearing my clothes. Not similar ones.
Mine.
The cream cashmere sweater Daniel gave me on our second anniversary. My black leggings stretched at the knees. She held one of my old patient files, flipping through it absently like it was a magazine. "Laura," I said. She didn't flinch. Instead, she looked up and smiled. "You know," she said, "I always thought you were lucky. Everyone loved you, trusted you, respected you. But the truth is, you're kind of boring." She stood, walked toward me slowly. "I'm better at being you than you ever were." My hands clenched. "You need help," I said. She laughed. "Oh, Emma, you still don't get it, do you? You're the one who needs help. You're the one everyone's worried about. And soon enough, you'll be the one locked away, while I keep the life you clearly didn't deserve." Her voice was low, calm, controlled. And I realized something chilling. She believed every word. This wasn't a game for her. This wasn't a prank or a jealous phase. This was a full psychological replacement. She didn't want to ruin me. She wanted to become me. That night, I didn't sleep. Instead, I packed a small bag and left while she was in the shower. I checked into a hotel under my middle name, sat on the bed, pulled out my burner phone, and called the only person who might understand the danger I was in. Dr. Marin answered on the second ring. "She's pushing," I said. "Hard." "She wants you to break," she replied. "Because if you snap in front of the right people, she gets to finish the job." I swallowed. "Then we don't let her." For the first time in weeks, I felt clear. Terrified? Yes. But clear. Laura had taken nearly everything from me. My friends, my reputation, my job, even my fiancé. But she hadn't taken my training. And I was about to use every ounce of it. Dr. Marin helped me map out a psychological strategy: controlled exposure, evidence collection, and narrative reversal. In other words, I wasn't going to run anymore. I was going to let her trap herself. First, I returned home, calm, cold, and polite. Laura greeted me like nothing had happened. She acted surprised I left. Acted worried. Concerned. "I was scared you'd do something to yourself," she said over a cup of tea she made without asking. "Of course. Lay the groundwork for the mental breakdown story." I smiled. "You were right to worry." Her eyes lit up, just slightly. The next day, I left my clinic keycard on the kitchen counter. I also printed a fake therapy referral with a patient's name partially blurred. I watched from my nanny cam as she took both. She didn't even hesitate. She was still pretending to be me. Later that night, I staged a call with a friend on speakerphone. I talked loudly in the living room, knowing she was in the hall. I said phrases like, "She doesn't even know I found the emails. The board's already investigating. By next week, this'll be over." It was bait, and she took it. That night, she logged into my laptop again looking for what I knew she wouldn't find. The next day, she texted Daniel. I had already reconnected with him. Quietly. I'd sent him a private message from my burner phone with proof. The faked emails. The recordings. A screenshot of the fake LinkedIn profile. He didn't respond for 2 days. Then, "I'm so sorry." I didn't answer. Not yet. Because this wasn't about him anymore. It was about me. And the final piece of my revenge was coming. I scheduled a meeting with Dr. Mills, my supervisor, off the record. Brought the screenshots. The time-stamped logins. The recordings. Even the photograph with my face scratched out. She sat in silence for a full minute before she spoke. "I think we need to call the board." I nodded. And that night, I planted the final trap. I left a sealed envelope on the table, marked confidential, board evidence. Inside was nothing but blank pages. I left the apartment. Laura texted me an hour later. "Hey, found the envelope. Wanna talk?" I didn't reply. Instead, I waited. 1 hour. 2. Then I received a call from the clinic's security. Someone had tried to access my office again. Only this time, they were caught on camera. In full view. Wearing my stolen badge. Wearing my coat. And it wasn't me. The security footage was clear. Time-stamped. High resolution. No wiggle room for lies. There Laura stood in the hallway of my clinic, fumbling with the keypad, trying to swipe and using the badge she stole from me. She even wore her hair like mine, tied back low, with a dark clip I hadn't seen in months. She was trying to look like me. She didn't see the security guard approach from behind. Didn't hear him ask for her ID. She turned too fast. Gave him her real name. And in doing so, admitted everything. I received a copy of the incident report from Dr. Mills the next morning. "Are you okay?" she asked gently. I smiled. For the first time in weeks, I meant it. I will be. The clinic launched an internal review. My administrative leave was reversed. My access reinstated. The anonymous complaint? Discredited and flagged as falsified. But the real confrontation hadn't happened yet. That night, I returned to the apartment. Laura was in the kitchen, pouring wine into one of my favorite glasses. She didn't look surprised to see me. "Rough day?" she asked casually. I set the report folder on the table between us. Her eyes flicked to it, then back to mine. She didn't open it. "I saw the footage," I said.
They know it was you.
Still, no reaction. "You need to leave.
Now."
That was when the mask cracked. Her lips trembled. Just for a second. Then her voice broke. "You always got everything. Everything. And you treated me like I was broken. Like I was some stray you had to fix." I said nothing. "You think you're better than me because you got your shit together first?" she hissed. "You were everyone's golden girl. Mom's pride. Daniel's perfect little therapist. You don't know what it's like to always be second, to never be enough." I let her finish. Because what came next wasn't for her, it was for me. "You weren't second, Laura. You were loved. You had chances. Help. Forgiveness. More than I ever did." I stepped closer. "But you didn't want help. You wanted my life. And now you've lost yours." That night, I packed her bags and left them by the door. Called a rideshare. Left her with a choice. Go quietly, or I press charges for identity theft, harassment, and attempted professional sabotage. She left. No apology. No remorse. Just a final glance over her shoulder. Not hate. Just emptiness. And somehow, that was worse. Peace didn't come all at once. At first, it arrived in fragments. Quiet mornings where no one messed with the coffee jar, evenings without feeling watched, silence that didn't hum with danger. It had been almost 2 months since Laura walked out of my life. She didn't fight the charges. Through the lawyer I hired, I learned she'd agreed to a plea deal for identity theft and unauthorized access to protected medical files. She avoided jail, got 2 years probation, mandatory therapy, and a restraining order that kept her 100 yards away from me and my clinic. It felt insufficient. But it was something. Daniel reached out once. A long, rambling email. Apologizing for doubting me, for not protecting me, for being too easy to manipulate. I never responded. Because the woman he left behind, the one he didn't believe, she didn't exist anymore. I had started over. Quietly. Intentionally. I changed apartments. A small space, just mine. I bought new dishes. New sheets. I tossed every object Laura ever touched. Burned the old journal. Started a new one with the first line. "You are not erased." I returned to my clinic with a different kind of clarity. My patients noticed. My supervisor noticed. Even I noticed. I no longer smiled to please. I smiled because I meant it. I rebuilt friendships, one by one. Had hard conversations. Some came back. Others didn't. That was okay. Because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't chasing anyone's approval. Dr. Marin and I stayed in touch. She became a quiet mentor, a steady lighthouse during the late nights when doubt still knocked at my door. "You know," she told me once, "survivors make the best healers." One afternoon, while reorganizing my bookshelves, I found an old photo, me and Laura at the lake. Summer, age 13. Matching braids. Sunburnt noses. Smiling like the future would always be kind. I stared at it for a long time, and then I threw it away. Not out of bitterness. Out of closure. because Laura was no longer my responsibility, and I was no longer her mirror. It came in the mail, an unmarked envelope with no return address. I almost didn't open it, but curiosity has a cruel way of whispering just this once. Inside was a single sheet of paper.
Typed. No greeting.
No name. Just a short message. You didn't win. You just walked away louder. There's a difference. But I've learned something too. Next time, I won't need your name to take what I want.
No signature.
But the scent on the paper was unmistakable. My perfume. For a moment, my lungs stopped working. That familiar old fear stirred, dark and ugly and cold.
But it didn't last.
Because this time I didn't crumble. I took the letter, folded it slowly, and placed it in the file I now kept locked in my safe. Laura, documented history. Then I picked up my phone and called my lawyer. Restraining order violation. Another strike. Another boundary she couldn't cross without consequence. And as I hung up, something clicked into place inside me. Laura hadn't changed. Probably never would. But I had. I no longer feared becoming like her. Because I finally understood what made us different. She tried to steal a life because she didn't know how to build her own. I rebuilt mine piece by piece. That evening, I sat across from a new patient, a young woman whose sister had framed her for shoplifting. Her hands trembled as she told me how no one had believed her, how her parents had taken her sister's side. I listened, really listened, and when she finished, I said gently, "You're not crazy. You're not weak. You're just finally seeing things clearly."
She cried. So did I.
Quietly, just for a moment, because I knew that pain. But more than that, I knew the way out of it.